Welcome to series 4 of the Women in Industry podcast. My name is Kirsty Davies-Chinnock, and today I'm joined by Jenny Gilson from Sweet as Success. Now, Jenny's in a slightly different industry to the industries we featured before, but the whole point of this podcast is talking to women who are working in predominantly male-dominated sectors. Particularly when you're looking at visibility, and as well as lots of engineering and manufacturing worlds being male dominated, the world of chefs is the same, and we know that from watching MasterChef and everything else, don't we? So today we're mixing it up slightly and focusing on cakes. And Jenny's worked in the trade for over 25 years, and she first trained as a pastry chef in some of the UK's top establishments. And then she went on to set up her own cake business, which went from running it at a kitchen table, literally, I assume, to 6 figures in just 3 years. She's cooked for royalties and celebrities. Gossip, she made King Charles and Camilla's wedding's first anniversary cake. I mean, how cool is that, cooking for royalty? She's appeared on TV, she's appeared on radio, and she's won lots of awards. But there's a plot twist. After making over £2 million worth of cakes, she sold her business and trained as a coach. Now she is on the other end and helps makers and bakers to grow their business. Welcome, Jenny. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and what an intro.
I know, it's good, isn't it? I love the makers and bakers. I nicked that off your website. I just thought, what a fantastic phrase. But if we go back to the beginning, when you were sort of training in kitchens, is it like how I would imagine a kitchen to be, like Gordon Ramsay yelling at everybody? Was it all sweary and hot and sweaty, or was it quite calm and collected?
That's probably part of why I went into patisserie, because patisserie is generally quite calm and collected, and a bit cooler, first of all, because that's a big thing. If you're working in 100-degree heat, it's not fun, is it? So cooler, quieter, and calmer. Those were the things that really attracted me to work in the pastry kitchen. But I went to college, to catering college in Stratford-on-Avon in the Midlands, and I was one of there was me, and there was, I think, 20 lads. So I was sort of thrown in at the deep end in the sort of chef world, and we trained in all parts of the kitchen. And as soon as I started to get a feel for patisserie, I was like, yeah, this is my place, this is where I want to be. But yeah, very much it depends the kind of circles that you move in. So after I finished college, I went to London and worked at Claridge's in Mayfair, and you kind of see that chefs will move in circles. So there'll be like a Claridge's Savoy Ritz kind of circle, and then there's a Gordon Ramsay kind of circle, and a Marco Pierre White's kind of circle back in the day. So it depends on what circle. And I left one of those circles. I left Claridge's to go to an ex Marco Pierre White circle, and it was a bit more like that. A bit more and kind of male dominated in that world, for sure.
And so you've been working in the chef trade for sort of over 25 years. So in the metal sector, I've done this for 36 years now, and I've really seen a shift from the 80s, 90s managerial sort of top tier down to a more collaborative approach when it comes to leadership and management. Was there a similar sort of shift in the industry that you worked in, that you saw? Did leadership styles change?
That's a difficult one because I'm a bit like a sponge. I like to get as much information as possible. I like to work in lots of different places. So I worked at Claridge's and then I went to a fine dining on Fleet Street and experienced every different aspect of the industry that I could. And then I started my business when I was 24. So I think I kind of took myself out of the industry after having my first child and purposefully took parts, as we do, you take parts of leadership that you loved and management that you hated, and you think, I'm never going to do that, and I'm definitely going to do this, and I'm going to do more of that. So I wanted to, when I started my own business, within 3 or 4 years, I had a team of 10, and I really wanted to make sure that I did leadership in a way that inspired me back when I was working for other people, but also improved and gave people what I felt like I needed.
You can learn, can't you, so much from other people's styles. Doesn't mean they're good or bad, just other people's styles, and take sort of aspects from it that worked for you that you will hope will work for others. And was setting up your own business because you'd become a mum? Was it that the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, it was really. So catering isn't terribly kind to families, and especially being a woman in such a male-dominated world, it isn't. Certainly in the early 2000s, they didn't. They couldn't work together. You'd be working split shifts, or you'd be working every weekend, Christmases, and I thought, I don't want this for my family, so I want to create something. And that plus I'd seen so many amazing cakes that I just thought, I want to get into this world. It wasn't conducive to having a family, so I made that decision. And actually, if you look at it now, there are a lot of women that step away from catering early, or when they've had children, or they decide not to have children. That it's probably 90% men for that very reason.
Difficult, isn't it? Because we've definitely had improvements in maternity leave and paternity leave, not as much on paternity leave. Since I had my son, and he's 30 in a couple of months. We've sort of gone from I think it was 12 weeks maternity leave.
Mm.
I think you were paid for 6, but you could have 12
Mm.
weeks, to up to 12 months. But there's still a level of privilege in being able to have that,
Mm.
to replace your income with statutory maternity pay.
Mm.
But it doesn't take into account, as you say, split shifts or weekend working, all the long hours.
Yeah.
The catering industry works very long hours, and quite often, if you're in a fine dining restaurant, I've walked out of fine dining restaurants at 1 o'clock in the morning. You've been there all evening, and it's a very long meal, let alone someone who came in 6 hours before that to start prepping. Um,
Mm.
you said that's why you think sort of 90% of the workforce at a senior successful level are men. Do you think they see it as a problem? Obviously, you can't put words in other people's mouths, but is it acknowledged that, from your experience, that it's an issue, or is it just is what it is?
I definitely think it is what it is. However, I think for the industry to grow and evolve, survive and thrive, because it's not at the moment, really honestly, that something does have to change. Most a lot of people in the industry are on minimum wage, or very low pay, but they're working incredibly hard, incredibly long hours with great responsibility. So something has to change, but I don't know whether the industry is at that point yet. I think COVID did a whole, it really opened our eyes to key workers, and of course people in catering are absolute key workers, because not everybody cooks, and people need to be fed. So there needs to be a massive shift in the value that's put on people that work in catering, for sure. And just expecting people, so my son now works in a kitchen, and just expecting that people are happy to work 14, 16-hour shifts for minimum wage is something has to change. Otherwise the industry will continue to suffer, and prices will continue to go up because people can't get decent chefs.
Do you think it's part of a wider devaluation, perhaps, of food in general? That we had a period of low inflation, and supermarkets were arguing with each other who'd got the best offer on this week. And yeah, okay, the quality might be a bit rubbish, but it was more affordable. Do you think in the UK as a whole we don't value food and nutrition as such?
I think there's there's a big change, and I think what has helped and hindered is TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. All the videos of nutritionists talking about the value of food, but also on the flip side of that, we have so much more ultra processed foods out there, and noodles in a packet that can be ready in a couple of minutes. So I think because it's not like being a plumber, you can kind of give it a go. You can give cooking a go, and how disastrous can it be? Whereas if you're if you're really wanting to eat a balanced, healthy diet, we need to know more about what that balanced, healthy diet is, and then learn to cook. But it's surprising how many people actually don't know how to cook now. But as we saw in COVID with the whole lockdown and the eat out to help out thing, it's a massive part of our community, and our culture is going out and eating, and people need it. We need to have places that community meet. We need to have places that people go out and meet, because it's really important to us. So for sure, I think that the availability of more processed foods, but equally, and the people not being able to cook, and on the flip side of that, us needing it as a culture and as a human race, really. I was in France last summer, I think, and the crisp aisle was, I don't know, a couple of meters long, and then you come back and you go to Tesco's, and the crisp aisle is 2 aisles, and it's like 30 aisles long. And yeah, there's got to be a shift in that, I think.
I think it is, and I also think as a country, certain sort of my generation, when all these convenience foods started to come out in sort of the late 70s, early 80s, yes, there was a degree of sort of, they were processed, but they weren't as ultra processed as they are now. And I think sometimes you can almost take it too far, when convenience is overriding actually the sort of nutritional values. But we all have long, busy lives. And do you really want to stand for an hour and cook when you get in from work? It's difficult.
Other things take up time and priority, don't they?
They do. So the catalyst really to set up your cake business was becoming a mom. So how did you grow the business? Because obviously you're a pastry chef, so you can make the cakes, they're going to be fine. How did you learn to become a business person as well?
So I talk quite a lot about this in the coaching that I do with bakers now. You can make the most amazing cakes in the world, but unless you concentrate, focus on the business side of it, you will not grow a successful business. It's 20-30% to do with how well you make cakes, and the rest is to do with marketing, with PR, with communication, with getting out there and actually speaking to people and meeting people and getting to try your stuff, knowing about the financials. There's so much more that goes into it. And when people they used to come into my cake shop and they go, I'd love to do this, I can make a couple of cakes, and how have you done this, and I want to open a cake shop next year. It's like this is a craft that you have to learn over a long period of time, not just, as I say, the decorating part of it, but the business side of it. So I was really lucky when I started my business to have a coach and mentor, and that's why I love being a coach and mentor, because I have used coaches and mentors throughout my career. And my mentor was from the Prince's Trust, so I had a small loan from the Prince's Trust which came along with the mentor, and they kind of walked me through the basics. I was 24. They walked me through the sort of basics, and I'm a bit, as I said earlier, a bit like a sponge. I like to learn as much about things as I can, and I think you can only learn about some things by actually just doing them. You can't learn. I'm dyslexic, so I'm not particularly book smart. I learn by doing, and really trial and error. So we learn so much from our failures, more than we learn from our successes, I think. So it was a journey of, let's try this. If that works, great. If that doesn't work, okay, let's try a new thing. But for those first, going from kitchen table to six figures to opening my shop, was very much getting out and speaking to people, getting as many people as possible to try my cakes. I would go to all of the school fairs and food fairs and everything going, and I was just on a mission. I think yourself, it has to be a labour of love, doesn't it? As a business owner, you have to love what you do, because it takes so much, but it also gives so much as well. So it was kind of gradually over the period of time that I picked up different skills, and I got quite good at sort of marketing and PR. Almost by accident, really, and just kind of ran with that. And my mentor at the time said, oh, I said to them, I would love to send Prince, as he was then, Charles, a cake to say thank you for the loan. So they said, well, just phone Buckingham Palace and see, if you can
Just
if you can
phone
send
Buckingham
something.
Palace. It's fine. Yeah.
So I did, and I remember putting my son down for a nap, and I phoned his office and I said, I'd love to send something to say thank you as a Christmas present, and they said, no, we get loads of Christmas presents. We would love you to make their first wedding anniversary cake. So, I was just like, what? I put the phone down. What has just happened? And that's it. I have been really successful in creating my own opportunities. So a lot of the TV work that I did back in the day as well was because I asked. Because what can they say? They can only say no, and that's fine. Like, that's not my opportunity.
One of the things I sort of say to people is that progress is only achieved by ignoring perfection. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Put it out there. You can tidy it up later. What you can't do is get any results from it if you never put it out there.
Absolutely.
And what I really liked that you just said then, Jenny, is that you said you were successful in creating your own opportunities. You didn't say, oh, I was very lucky, because you weren't lucky. You created the opportunity. And a lot of people do dismiss that and say, oh, I was just lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. Well, you were in the right place at the right time because you sat, picked up the phone call and put yourself in the right place at the right time. And it's really refreshing to hear you say that. It really is. So many people don't own that. They don't own the hard work.
Yeah. And I think we're really good as women at downplaying our successes, or downplaying the hard work that it took, or downplaying our skills and abilities, that men generally don't have an issue with. So Yeah, we have to. And I think also there is a point at which we are waiting for some reason, for everything to be aligned or everything to be perfect. Or if I just do that, then I'll be ready. Or if I just get that done, then I'll be ready. That's never going to happen. You have to make yourself ready, and you just have to take that first step.
Definitely. But so when you pivoted the first time and went from being a pastry chef to a business owner making cakes, which you then grew, and then you pivoted again and became a coach and a mentor, were there, what was the sort of the one lesson that stayed with you from sort of being a business owner the first time round, when you sold the cake business and then set up your business as a coach and mentor?
I think I've got this real sort of saying that I have to myself, which is why not? Why not try it? Just give it a go. If it doesn't work out, then that's fine. Let's try another step. Let's look at another way. But with the cake shop, I'd had this dream forever that I wanted to live by the sea, my vitamin C top on. I'd always thought it was for retirement. I just thought, I'll live in the Midlands and then I'll move down when the time's right. And I'd had a nasty divorce, and I just thought, why not? Why not now? And I think that, and some people say you're either crazy or you're brave, but actually we have one very, very short, very precious life. And actually, if we're waiting for, as I said, perfectionism, or waiting for a sign, or waiting for this or waiting for that, we'll always be waiting. So I had the divorce, and I was like, do you know what? It's time for me to do something completely out of that. And I don't mind taking these big risks and these big steps. So I sold the business and then moved down to the coast to fulfill this lifelong dream, whilst my kids were still young enough to come with me. And we built this life here. And I think that what the lessons that I've had throughout my life are, one, working with a coach and mentor has been fundamental to my success, because when we're business owners, we kind of get a little bit stuck in our little bubble of what's going on in our heads and around us. But actually, coaches and mentors help us to think outside of that and help us to see the potential. But also this, why not? Creating opportunities, and why not? What's the worst that can happen? Like, give it a go. It doesn't work out.
It's the Dr. Pepper moment, isn't it? What's the worst that could happen? And if you can live with that, then you might get the best that could happen.
Yeah.
Which is, Dorset is a beautiful part of the world. And being able to sort of pivot again and play to other strengths and skills, because you didn't just, create a website and go, I'm now going to be a coach. You trained, you went through the steps, you took it seriously, and you went back to school, didn't you? So
yeah,
it's not a case if you just went, I'm putting a sign outside and calling myself a coach. You put the work in first. One of the things that I think some coaches can have a bad rep is that, they go from a very short period of time in the industry and then go out and set themselves up as a coach. And it doesn't matter what industry that is. And so it's really reassuring to sort of see the fact that you've got your hands dirty in two aspects of the career you work with. You paid your dues, you put your time in. When you're dealing with makers and bakers now, are they all classically trained? Are they trying something new? Are they learning from the beginning? Do they have the same sort of classical training as you did, or is it just a mixture of everybody?
It's a real mixture of everybody. So most of them, I think there's only one that's a Michelin star chef that's setting up in business, and they want to know, they know the training part of it, but they want to know the business side of it. There's people that have worked in corporate. So there is an accountant that really wants to make this their full-time role, but they are, learning the business, learning the trade, learning the decorating techniques. Alongside their full-time job, with the view to replace that. And there's people that have started in COVID, and they watched a few YouTube videos, made a few cakes, and they're like, I just love doing this because I want to do something that I love every single day. And so it's a huge mix. And that's what I teach. So I've got a membership, and that's what I teach in the membership. So we do goal setting and accountability. We do business knowledge. So I get external experts in, like tonight we've got an AI masterclass. We do SEO, Instagram growth, all of the stuff that you need to know around business. And then we do a technical skills as well. So I get tutors in to teach them the technical skills. And then we do group coaching as well. So the membership is the place that they can all come together, whatever their background, whether they're classically trained or whether they started yesterday, and build a sustainable business.
Because it doesn't really matter what the business is, whether it's metal polishing or cakes. It's about having that strong business foundation, as you mentioned earlier. And I spent some time this morning reading the blogs that you put out on your website. And I really liked the blog that you did on branding. I'm paraphrasing your blog here at you, but you pointed out that, one cake can be £350 and another cake can be £850. And it's pretty much the same ingredient. It's going to taste pretty much the same. It's the same size. But the fact that that's £500 more is down to the branding and what the maker can get for it, because that's how their creations are valued. How do you get that across to people, and what mistakes do you see people make with branding?
So the way I get that across, and a lot of this, by the way, is to do with mindset. So if people don't feel like they can charge £800 for a cake, even though it's as good as, if not better, than another cake maker who is charging that amount, they will never feel comfortable, and that energy exchange is never, that is felt through a screen. Even if you're ordering via Instagram, you're ordering a wedding cake, that is felt, isn't it? So first of all, it's about mindset and making sure that they understand that without the right mindset, they can't charge what they should be charging. So we do a lot of work around mindset in the club. And then secondly, the messaging around branding. I see so many accounts that they have got a mate to create a logo for them, or they've gone onto Canva and they've gone, yeah, I like pink and I like Wellington boots, for example. So
Yeah.
I'm going to create a pink logo with a Wellington boot and a cake on the top. Like that's fine, but you then also have to think, how is my brand perceived? What is my brand value perceived to be from somebody that's looking on? Because we only have so many seconds to catch their attention. And not every brand is for everybody. So somebody that would shop at Sainsbury's might not shop at Waitrose or Lidl, or, we kind of align with the brand that is like us. So it's about, I do a lot of work around their ideal client, and getting that out of them before we then think about the branding and how do they want to be perceived in the market. So do they want to pile them high and sell them cheap, which by the way is fine as well, or do they want to sell one wedding cake a month, but it's going to be £2,000 or £1,000 or whatever, and it's making sure everything down to the photography is right, the colours that they're using are right, the fonts, what kind of messaging they're using. It's a whole piece that I think when you first start off as a baker, you just don't even think about.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? And I'm only saying small business, not to imply or cake makers are small businesses, because most people, as you will obviously know because you're teaching them, start off as the one person, so they're doing everything.
Mm.
And then as they grow and get bigger, obviously they can have other people doing different things. But it's starting off doing that same as you know, set up a factory, you're doing the invoices at 8 o'clock at night and you clean the loos when you come in first job, you know, you do everything.
Yeah.
And I think particularly nowadays, there's a lot more to learn, especially if you're going to be looking for clients online, because that's where we
Mm.
all go to look for things. So
Mm.
it's a whole new skill set for people to learn, for, you know, to set up a business and to market it, rather than putting a coupon in a newspaper that, you know, we all used to cut out in the 80s. God, I'm showing my age.
I sell this. Come and buy it.
Yeah. Finally, Jenny, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say probably keep going. You know, those days that you think, this is a bit hard, isn't it? Or am I really cut out for this? Or, you know, I can't do this. Or is this ever going to take off? Just keep going, because there's something magic just around the corner. So I think equally, you know, when the time is right to bow out, which I did with my cake business, but I had big plans. It's about, you can't grow a business without resilience. And there are going to be days that you think, what the heck am I doing? You know, why don't I just go and get a normal job? But it outweighs the great times outweigh the bad times. And when they don't, then maybe it is time. But it takes time, energy, enthusiasm, hard work, dedication, and resilience, and all of that stuff mixed into a big pot to make it work. And it's not a quick fix. You know, we see people that are like, oh, they're all of a sudden, you know, they're massive, and you don't see a lot of the work that goes behind that.
Yeah, the overnight success that's taken 15
Yeah,
years to get there. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You see that all the time, don't you? It's like all of a
yes,
sudden, this person is an overnight success. Yeah, maybe
yeah,
not.
not a
Oh,
thing.
thank you so much, Jenny. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I am only disappointed with one thing, which is that you don't make cakes anymore and can't send me one. But thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to chat.